Oh my god.
My friends!
Nick, no!
He's morbing
No,
out.
he's morbing!
I have returned from the final frontier. So, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of the Weeb Roundup. You're gonna see, we missed an episode 1 week. Part of that was because I have been out to spaces unknown, exploring the galaxy for various purposes. Was also really depressed. So, rather than trying to juggle everything at once and being like, let's do the show, and then let's also, like, you know, explore the far reaches of the galaxy. Let's watch Columbo. Let's deal with the inner turmoil of my thoughts tearing me asunder, telling me that I'm not good enough. Let's get rid of all of that. Let's not do any of that. Instead, let's take that week that we were supposed to record and talk about another episode of things, to kind of just chill. And then under my nose, Ky and Lana start unionizing on me, and we're gonna talk about that here in a minute. But I will say there's a bit of a union going on, and I already see Lana smirking from here, that devilish bitch.
What do I have to say? He doesn't know that that he has entered a new form of Tomodachi Game. I've been planning this one all along. See.
Like,
heads, I win. Tails, I win. But the coin only lands on its side because Yuichi's friendship has been overcome by his yandere money-grubbing pants. It seems we have reached an impasse.
Yuichi literally is the motherfucker that would flip the coin. It would land on its side, and he's just like, well, it looks like we don't have a conclusion for this one now, do we? And then everyone's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
And then all of the people who are watching, like all the girls are like watching, and they're like, he's so smart and clever and talented. And it's just like, huh?
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a game where Yuichi solves the problem by shitting his pants in a very similar fashion to when Baki solved one of his fights by peeing on people.
Is this the Naruto fart moment?
That was a thing. I forgot.
Yeah, so that does happen in Tomodachi Game. As somebody who has read 100 chapters of Tomodachi Game and is now caught up with as far of the Japanese manga as is currently out right now, shows it's all right.
So I'm just gonna say right now,
it's all right.
It's okay.
Has someone who has seen the latest 2 episodes that we did not talk about on the show, if you had told me to judge it solely based on episodes 1 through 5, I thought it was going. I would have told you the show's kind of a garbage can, right? It kind of blows. Then the last 2 episodes happen, and I'm like, wait a minute.
We're suddenly watching a different show.
We're watching Yu-Gi-Oh! We're watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0. We're watching like this fucked up version of Kaiji that's like not as good as Kaiji, but still pretty good, right? And I'm over here just like, why didn't this happen 3 episodes ago? Literally, with Tomodachi Game, talking on it a bit here, to give my final thoughts on it for now, is Tomodachi Game is a show that is held down almost completely by its pacing. Someone that was directing this is just like, we got to fit in all of the shit from the manga so that it makes sense. And I'm over here just like, you could cut so much of this shit and like still have yourself a good show and like work in things a little differently, because they've already shown that they're willing to divert a bit from the manga, because we've already seen, for instance, like another team that they start partway through the second game and they like kind of divert the POVs a bit, but they just completely cut that from the anime, and it's turned into essentially like, it feels like they're trying to rush through it, but they're not. And it's, the show in general is just held back so hard by its pacing. However, I'm going to continue watching it. However, Ky and Lana have they've held me down. they have thrown me into the Tomodachi pit, and I'm not allowed to escape. What the fuck?
My camera is.
Sorry about that. Apparently, Ky like broke down molecularly. He died.
I just died. You know what happens?
Yeah,
you
he lost the Tomodachi game, so we had to buy a new Ky.
Yeah. Like, have you ever seen the ending of Infinity War? That's essentially what happened with Ky just now. It was a little. I was crying.
They had to replace my model. They instead of trying to.
the Ky that you're currently
instead of remaking it from scratch, they just took my model from Xrd and used that instead.
I was about to say the Ky that you're looking at right now is a perfectly crafted CGI replica. You cannot tell the difference. It's actually just a VTuber model. And behind the scenes, it isn't even Ky talking. That's actually Matthew Lillard. But real quick, back onto the topic that I was saying. Essentially, Ky and Lana have unionized. I have been thrown into the Tomodachi Game pits, never to be seen again until the day comes when everyone gathers their energy and says, Tomodachi Game, Tomodachi Game, Tomodachi Game, in which I will be summoned like Beetlejuice from the depths saying, hey, yo, this show's okay. And then I will get people to watch an okay anime.
So there's a Reddit for Tomodachi Game.
Yeah.
There's a community for it, like a forum for it that's connected to their Reddit.
Yes.
And so eventually, so Tomodachi Game apparently does not have like a dedicated translator or group that translates Tomodachi Game for scans, and they don't have like a manga licensing, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the fan base for Tomodachi Game is an extremely dedicated fan base that tries to get like as much like of its information out, because like the people who are reading it want to continue reading it, you know, because they don't really get the opportunity to. The they like right now they basically have a guy who posts a discussion post on their forums of the newest chapter. He summarizes what's going on so you can read his discussion post explanation of the chapter with the raws, which is how I read 3 chapters of Tomodachi Game, because I needed it to. I was hoping to God above, that it would end at chapter 100. And you know what's worse?
What?
Chapter 99, I thought I was 10 chapters away from the completion of Tomodachi Game. In chapter 100, I believe that I am 40 chapters away from the end of Tomodachi Game, at least.
You could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then you tripped and then were dragged back to the beginning of the tunnel.
I was like Shiho in the snow. I fucking fell on my face. and I look like a dumbass. And I feel like the only way that I can punish myself with a penalty fitting of Monavu would be if I just poisoned the water supply completely by giving my as spoiler-free as possible analysis of the 100 chapters of Tomodachi Game before I go into the probably 40 chapters of Tomodachi Game Shippuden.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
I'm hearing
I don't want to think
this,
about that.
And
in the very next 2 episodes of the Tomodachi Game anime, you guys are going to meet the best character in the entire manga. He is a great character, and I can't explain anything else without totally giving it away, besides saying that he is simply a genius. Tenji is the best character in the fucking thing. Period. All the pictures I sent you guys were in good faith and love. of this horrible character.
So I'm gonna say right now, the last 2 episodes we've seen, Tenji is the best character.
The best character is Tenji. The former traitor, is now the best character in Tomodachi Game by a lot. Furthermore, not only is he one of the best characters, next to this character that nobody's met yet, the real traitor is way better. it's way better that I have pictures that if I just show them to Kai or Nick, it just ends Tomodachi Game.
Are you serious?
It just ends it. The true villain of Tomodachi Game, the Adachi behind it all, the main big guy. You won't even believe it, and I don't believe it because and also for everybody out there, like there's a character who in this show, one character who has done absolutely nothing wrong, and I can't say who. The best character has done nothing wrong. Like the other characters who are the best characters, Tenji, this guy that you guys are gonna meet, those two great characters, wonderful characters, but they have done many wrong things and are bad people.
Oh my god.
Tenji identifies himself in chapter 67 as the ultimate stalker. That's what he calls himself. He is the son of a lawyer.
Jesus Christ.
Well, in that given situation, I would have been proud of it too, because he was very good at getting details on the people that we needed him to, because it's Tomodachi Game, so we need a spy. Tenji in the next episode of Tomodachi Game is going to be Jesus on the cross for Tomodachi Game watchers. This is the amount of this character is mind-blowing. The character who has done nothing wrong, wholesome, makes you feel better about yourself. I fucking hate Yuichi so much. there's not a single iota of respect for Yuichi for any good deed that he does, past, present, and future. There is nothing that you can do to convince me ever in all of the world. If you told me to take 2 bullets and shoot Eren Yeager or Yuichi,
I would leave it.
I would shoot Yuichi once and Eren Yeager once, but I would respectfully say that I shot Yuichi first. And it's not like I actually shot Yuichi, because as soon as Yuichi saw me pull the trigger, he knew that my desperation to defeat him would make him hesitate. So he was able to lean back and dodge the bullet at the last second, only taking minor damage to his frontal lobe and therefore making him incapable of talking, which would make my life significantly easier, because if Yuichi ever said anything in my face again, I might have to turn into some sort of monster that can cross dimensions so I can beat him to death with my bare arms.
There's so many layers to this. There's so many layers.
And even then, Yuichi would have found a way to get himself a bear repellent for my bare arms, and suddenly he'd be like, so which arm am I going to take now, Lana? The left or the right? And then he'll be like, we're playing a Tomodachi Game of our own, and he'll have my arms behind my back like Zaku and Sasuke in the Forest of Pain, and I'll go, the left, Yuichi, and he'll go, it was both. Tomodachi Game. And then Manabu goes, that's really funny. And then the black-haired big booby lady goes, he's so hot, and she presses her tits into the screen.
That the last bit is what sells it, because okay, there's literally a point in the latest episode where there's a big blonde lady, and she's like being introduced.
She's finally here.
She's introduced, and she's like, oh man, this Yuichi kid's gonna get fucked up. But as she's saying this, the camera's directly on her legs. Her legs are shining like diamonds, and you're just like, yeah, they are 100% trying to make them look oiled up and ready to twerk. And I'm over here just like, fuck, dude.
Well, it also could be like, it could also be that the person who animates Tomodachi Game is a furry. Like
what? What? Hang on, what?
Like shining skin, like shining clothes, like or like the attention to trying to make clothes look like latex. That's a very. Maybe I shouldn't get into this.
I was about to say, I think you're over analyzing this.
I mean, it's just a possibility in the continuum shift.
I know what you're trying to say, Lana, and you're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah, you don't think I'm wrong? I think it's reasonable. I think it's reasonable.
I understand where your head's at. I know what you think is going through their minds, and it probably is.
It could be.
Yeah.
We're in 2022. You know,
we are.
It
is current year. There's a lot of strange people out there.
I'm so confused. I don't understand. Okay.
And this is why you don't watch Tomodachi Game.
This is exactly. This is why you don't watch Tomodachi Game.
There is the kid Tomodachi Game and the adult Tomodachi Game. This is the only thing that I'm probably going to spoil. And like the characters end up going to the adult one for reasons, and that actually really helps the plot, like a lot. I'm just kind of annoyed that their Tomodachi Game just kind of stopped, even though they totally just kept winning.
So you have the junior division, and then you have the World Martial Arts Tournament.
Yeah, and they're
does Yuichi fight Goku?
Yuichi fights who's a guy who's like kind of like a guy. Yuichi fights Sensui.
Who's Sensui? Oh god.
From Yu Yu Hakusho.
Okay. Now I'm remembering.
Yeah, he fights like a really slick black-haired Jin Kisaragi looking guy. It's like really awful. Here, just like MS Paint, like post a picture of Jin Kisaragi with black hair. That's fine. Hibiki, that Hibiki guy.
Hibiki.
He fights Hibiki, but evil. Like
so Eren Yeager.
Yeah. Yeah. He fights Eren Yeager, but Eren Yeager's only has as many superpowers as Yuichi does. Which for both of them it's just being Yami Yugi.
Oh my god.
Like they're like everyone is Yami Yugi. Everyone is Yami Yugi. Shio's top dad is Yami Yugi, but like not. Like everyone's Yami Yugi. Just remember everyone's Yami Yugi or everyone's Yugimoto. You're either one or the other. And I would say that currently everyone in Tomodachi Game, like in the 5 cast, is a different iteration of like a Yami Yugi version of all of the characters of Yu-Gi-Oh! Tenji is Tristan, Kokorogi is Bakura, and then Yuichi is Yugi, and Shibe is Joey, and then Shiho is Taya. Like that is actually a perfect iteration. If all of them had Millennium items and turned into evil versions that played shadow games, that would be the Tomodachi Game cast. It is an okay show. It is extremely mid at the very beginning. It is extremely mid in the middle. And it is extremely annoying that it isn't finished yet. I feel like it should be over. And when it is over, the people who liked Tomodachi Game, like from start to finish, I think that this writer is going to be able to write an ending that is satisfying. Otherwise, the show is going to be a slog for you. Like if you don't love it, if you don't love Manabu the second you see him, if you don't think that Yuichi being some deranged dude who's like definitely not trustworthy, but everyone's got to trust him because the plot said so, then you're just not going to be able to handle the bullshit that these characters have to struggle through.
You know what? Maybe that's why I appreciate it so much, is because I love the fact that Yuichi is so obviously just deranged and awful. And it's just like, this guy's fine. He's not going to do anything. He's like, oh yes, I'm not going to do anything. Don't worry about it. You can trust me implicitly. As he pulls out like a taser with a knife attached to it.
But if Tomodachi Game continues at if Tomodachi Game ends sometime soon, thank you, the person who wrote it, for finishing it up. I'm happy and I'm thankful, and you're going to make my life a lot easier. But if I check back in 6 months and Tomodachi Game isn't over, I'm gonna be real upset. And I think it's a monthly jump, so I'm gonna be real upset in like 6 months.
Well, now that we've hit that, now that we've crossed this road, we're going to be approaching things a little differently here. Normally we would cover 3 shows from the season and kind of book club those, but because I have been union vetoed. Kai and Lana have killed me. I have no say in the matter. What we're going to be doing is we're going to kind of just be pissing around until this season is done and then the new shows start. So we're going to start watching some like short stuff. We're going to start watching some movies, just some shit that we can kind of shoot the shit about to fill some time and generally just have a good time. And well, I think at this point it's Morbin time.
It is Morbin time.
Oh my
boy.
god, it's finally Morbin time. I've been
It's
waiting.
time.
I've been waiting to morb up since my morb like birth, you know.
So for context, by the way, in case I seem very quiet and or just not as energetic, Nick had to sit down and watch Morbius just now.
I don't know what you're talking about. This was cinema. Cinema existed. Cinema walked. So Morbius could run. And then Morbius had to make a new word to talk about what went past running. And you know what that was? Morbing.
Oh my god, I'm morbed out of my fucking skull during this movie. I love Morbius.
I'm so fucking morbed right now. We watched this movie about 2-ish hours ago. I have been morbed from the start, but I'm even more of a morb head now. You have no idea the levels of morb that I am currently reaching within the syntax that is my morb cortex.
Hold
All
on,
I'll
Nick.
say-
You can't morb this hard. You're gonna hurt yourself.
I can't stop. These morbs are on fire. Ah!
All I'll say is that, man, there is absolutely a reason why when you Google Morbius cast, the first thing that comes up is Andrew Garfield. I'm not even kidding. That's actually what comes up when you look up Morbius cast. But man, Andrew Garfield for this movie. Good pick. Good pick.
Good pick. Good pick. I cannot believe they managed to get Andrew Garfield along with Jared Leto and Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg. I forgot about Steven Spielberg.
You're right.
This movie had a superstar cast of that one guy and Andrew Garfield, and I thought I couldn't get enough, but actually I was drinking more toothpaste than I thought I would the minute before. When I was, because if you read on the back of the Blu-ray box that you can't buy for Morbius, you can actually sorry, I'm so fucking sorry. I got a special edition box for doing the Weeb Roundup of Morbius.
You son of a bitch!
Yeah, so if you look on the back, it shows a thing of Colgate, because Colgate is supposed to be the optimal food for when you are watching the movie Morbius, because it makes you feel like you're getting all the blood, sweat, and blood, and blood, and blood, and blood that you're going to have to deal with, you know, because that's what Morbius is all about. If it ain't red, don't drink it.
No, for real. And like the toothpaste is blood red, which is really, it's fascinating because a big part of the movie.
More, don't be as.
Oh my god! Ah! Fucking, it's really fascinating though because a big part of the movie is that Michael Morbius, which Kai did not know that his name was Michael Morbius.
No, I'm still baffled because, like, you know, movie starts, all I hear is Nick and Lana being like, man, can't wait for Michael Morbius. And I'm like, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm hearing this. I'm like, okay, Michael Morbius. That you know, because the movie's called Morbius. That's funny.
That's a funny name.
That's a funny name. Yeah.
What alliteration they use.
And then we get to the movie, and then they actually introduce him as Michael Morbius. And I was like, I'm still in shock. Like this
Mario
the name
Mario
of the character.
It's just Mario, Luigi Morbius, Morbius.
Morpheus Dorpheus, dude. Hannibal Buress is going to come out of a coffin, and he's gonna. I really thought that the cameo by Hannibal Buress, one of the like least used Marvel characters in the MCU, would really like in the after credits scene. Remember the third after credits scene where Eric Andre shot Morbius, Like that was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And he was like, "Who killed Morbius?" And then it did the Inception sound because they couldn't afford anything other than the Inception sound, and it just said M, but the M was in Comic Sans because they couldn't use the budget to use the M from the credit scene twice. Also, why was it like vermilion?
Okay, it looks cool.
M vermilion.
It looks cool.
I loved Morbius. I thought that it was a great family comedy. I remember when Matt Smith morphed into David Tennant, like in the middle of the movie.
It's like, wait, hold on a second. It doesn't go 11-10. It's supposed to go Tennant, then it's Smith, then it's Capaldi.
So it wasn't a Doctor Who morphing. It was a Morbius morph, which made him start doing David Tennant's Shakespearean work.
All right, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. So, because there's a point in the movie where it just starts, which it takes about like 30 minutes for the movie to really get anywhere, right?
It really does. I'm not even joking about that.
Yeah, because it's you got Michael Morbius, and he's like, "Hello, my name is Michael Morbius. I'm also a child right now, but I have to get dialysis 3 times a day," or as he puts it, an oil change, because he's a child. And then he has to watch a British kid die. Who's the British guy again? Milo? Yeah, Milo. It's like he has to watch Milo die. And he's like, wait, I gotta make sure he doesn't die. So he fixes a dialysis machine with a paperclip, a ballpoint pen, and his intuition. So you already know from the bat, yeah, this kid's a genius. And speaking of bats, he also captures an entire tank full of bats with nothing but his bloody hands and the power of immigrants. It's absolutely insane. So
after he like caught all of the bats, you were able to see a flashback to when he fixed the dialysis machine, and like during the flashback we saw him activate his Sharingan eye.
No, yeah,
like,
it was nuts.
He's got a special bloodline eye that like it turns like his sclera more white, and suddenly he starts having Rick and Morty eye like looking eyes.
They were Rick and Morty eyes.
Yeah. So
it's called the Morb, because the orbs of your eyes.
Yeah. So the Rick and Morty eyes started like appearing to him in a Morb dream.
Oh my god.
That's what they called it, the Morb dream.
I mean, it's no, you're wrong on that, Lana. It was called the Morb stream.
The Morb. Oh my god.
Yeah,
dude.
because you're being streamed the Morb mentalities through to your mind, like straight to your mind.
Exactly.
That's why it's called the stream.
Yeah, it's the stream of consciousness, the Morb of consciousness. Morb.
I'm sorry, guys. I just haven't been morbing hard enough.
It's okay. It's okay. It is a process. It is a process. You can only morb so much during any given morb period before you have to take a morb down, you know?
You know, if it ain't red, it's already dead.
Exactly. Why do you think I'm dressed in red today?
I thought that was just because you're RedMufflerMan.
Strike that from the fucking record. How dare you?
I don't know, dude. I thought that was your thing.
This guy's still on fake blood.
Yeah.
So this guy's still on fake blood.
No, I'm just high.
But like Ky right now, you can see right now, he is slurping the fake blood, which also, can I say, what ends up happening is Michael's like, oh no, I'm dying. I have to get dialysis. So he injects himself with the Morbius serum, and he gets all shaky. He's like, oh, I don't gotta do it anymore. And then he kills like 8 people. And then wait, what?
You know, it would actually probably be called the Morbius serum because it is his name.
That is true.
Like that's not even a joke.
Serum.
He might call it the Morbius serum because he made it.
Oh my god. But
that's a realistic name choice.
It's the Morbius morphine.
We could call it the Morb juice, and it wouldn't even be like an insult to the movie Morbius or the character Michael Morbius. It would just be calling it Morb juice.
He inhales the Morb juice, which forces him, you know, it makes him feel better. He doesn't have to take dialysis anymore. He's like superhuman, but it also gives him an unquenchable thirst for human blood and human blood accessories. So he kills like 8 people. He drinks all of their Kool-Aid and he's like, man, I feel a lot better, except I killed 8 people and that kind of sucks. So he calls for help and jumps off of the boat that he's on. And he's like, okay, I got to do the sciencey thing where I like look at what my powers are. And like, there's a point where he's going into a room and he's like, okay, I got to drink some blood or like, I'm going to feel real bad. He starts drinking that shit up like goddamn Capri Suns. Like, if you had told me the Kool-Aid Man was going to crash through the wall to give Morbius a pitcher of blood, I'd believe you. And you don't know why I would believe you? Because it actually happened.
It did actually happen, didn't it?
I'll tell you right now, if this movie was more popular, I would not be surprised if we got like special edition monster that was just given to you in like a packet. And you could just drink that, and then you could just, do the Morbius thing of just drinking it like.
That would be a great 7-Eleven promotion.
It would be the best 7-Eleven
Absolutely.
promotion.
That'd do great in the United States.
I'd buy it. I don't even drink Monster, and I'd fucking buy that.
I think it would do great in the United States because then people could make like shitty like TikToks where they're using the Morbius blood, and then like they chug it the way Morbius does, sexily. Because there's
not call that sexily. The dude chugs it like.
Yeah. So my girlfriend,
like you're trying to have one of those like really long gummy worm snakes, and you're just trying to shove it in your mouth. That's how he chugs it.
It's so awful.
My girlfriend was watching this movie with us, and she literally like watched him drink the blood like that, and she went, "There's no pretty way to do that."
Yeah.
There's no good way to do that.
There really wasn't. Like, I mean, to be fair, it's an ugly thing to do.
What's Jared Leto going to do to make that look good? Nothing. There's nothing. There's what do? You cut it open and then you pour it all over yourself? No, because then you have to redress the actor every time they chug the morb juice. Which is blood at this point, because they already took the serum. So
yeah, you only have to take the serum once, but the blood you have to take over and over. And it's like at this point, so can I just say one thing? Because he was kind of already a vampire before, right? Because he had to get his blood replaced. If anything, he just had to change the method in which new blood entered his body.
Gotta say that blood sure is melty.
And then Arquaid shows up. That's right.
Right?
I forgot. This actually has a Tsukihime crossover.
Oh boy.
The MCU is breaking new ground.
So that's why we had all of those like VTuber interviews with Morbius, right?
It makes sense.
Because it's like you really thought it was weird when it's like, okay, well, like, is this movie supposed to do really well in Japan for some reason? Yes. It's because they were like, you know what? We're going to team up with Nasu and put Arquaid in the thing. And they're like, you know what? I don't know why, but they decided to team Arquaid up with fucking Shiro Emiya to see how that would go if we got Shiro instead of fucking...
That defeats the purpose! Shiro doesn't hunt vampires! This is bullshit!
Exactly! No, Nick was pissed.
I was so mad.
It was like, Nasu, how could you betray your ideals as a writer?
And then Nasu was like, money, fate, grand order. Fuck. But so we hit the point where we see the Doctor Who guy, and he walks up to Morbius and he's like, Morb, you gotta give me a hit of the morb juice. And then Morbius is like, no, I'm a monster, I can't give you the morb juice. Give me the morb juice. I can't give you the morb juice. And then he tries to get him to give him the morb juice, and then Morbius pushes him away and he's like, it's Morbin time, get out of here.
Yeah, he does start morbing.
He starts morbing so hard, and Milo is so afraid that he steals some of the morb juice and then gets the hell out of there.
Yeah, because like Milo, he's naturally a coward. So stealing something and then asking for forgiveness is better than begging for permission. Something that he did do before he finally took the morb juice and transformed into David Tennant. He started doing the Charleston. Like,
yeah.
Oh like my God.
He started dancing. He was just dancing. There was a 10-minute interval in which we were just watching the Matt Smith Tennant fusion I'm gonna call him Matt Gotanks. just start doing backflips and kissing bitches and just going nuts.
He's going absolutely crazy, and he has one line where he's like, so it's like after the dancing scene, which might be the greatest scene in all of cinema. He goes to a bar and he hits on this really cute girl, and then she's like, "Oh, I don't recognize you," and he's like, "Oh, but I recognize you. Remember, tequila to remember, whiskey to forget." And then he just immediately takes a shot, and then this dude comes up out of nowhere, and he's like, "You're Doctor Who, aren't you?" He's like, "Yes. I'm gonna kick your ass." And it turned out that it was Hank Hill. And so Hank Hill has a fight with Morbius 2.
You know, I gotta say, they really were trying to make this like they were future-proofing themselves for Chip and Dale when they made this. I really think they were, because the amount of crossovers in this compared to Chip and Dale, it's like both movies had Ugly Sonic. Let's not forget
both
that.
movies had Ugly Sonic.
Both movies did have Ugly Sonic.
However, this Ugly Sonic actually had the real voice actor, unlike Chip and Dale. Absolutely pathetic. I'm still so angry about Chip and Dale. So mad. That's not how you do a proper
I'll give
crossover.
Disney props for being like, you know what? If we're going to have a My Little Pony Friendship is Magic reference, we should draw them like the Gen 4 ponies and not Gen 2 for no goddamn reason. They did go and fix that, and I can appreciate, some change to a movie before its release.
I mean, I would be able to appreciate it if it was not them trying to poison the well on 2D animation and framing it in a way that is just shitty.
It really is.
That's a topic for a completely different thing. But back to the good thing.
That's another morb for somebody else.
That's a morb for another morb. You know what I mean?
I believe that when Morbius high-fived Ugly Sonic and then Ugly Sonic vomited off of the side of the building was just one of my favorite moments in cinema.
And then
it reminds me of when Robert Pattinson was punching the bats inside the bat pit in the bottom of Morbius's lab. Also, remember the conversation between Morbius and those two cops where he was like, "I don't, I'm about to get hungry, and you'll like me when I'm hungry."
Yeah. I'm about to get hungry, and you wouldn't like me when I'm hungry. Like, oh my god! And it's reminding me of. Okay, so real quick. He's essentially getting interrogated by the police, and the police are just like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna tell us what it is that you want." He's like, "You got any blood for me?" "No, why would we have blood for you?" "I'm getting hungry. You wouldn't like me when I'm hungry." So he escapes and then breaks into a drug den in which he kicks everyone out that's cooking meth so he can use it to cook blood. And then the guy's like, "Oh man, who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, me? I'm Venom." And then the dude runs away like a huge coward. And I'm just like, come on, Morb, you're the new kid on the block. You're not allowed to say this shit yet. And then Sonic turns to him after vomiting where he says, "Well, you know what they say, when you morb in, you morb out, you know?"
And then suddenly Sonic just morbed out. He just disappeared. He was gone.
Never to be seen or heard from again.
We didn't see him in the credits scene. We didn't see him with Andrew Garfield. Like, there was nothing. He's gone.
Oh my fucking god.
I was getting used to him.
Dog, Sonic was actually going to be one of the best characters in the movie, and then they just cut him out like halfway through. It wasn't even like an unceremonious death. He literally fades out of existence, and they don't even explain it. I think that there is a newspaper that says something about Sonic became one with the Speed Force, but I'm like, that doesn't make sense when the Morb Force also exists, and the two cannot coexist in the same dimension. They covered that in Doctor Strange.
I was gonna say this. Now that we know that this is canon towards the what is it? What's it called? The Multidimension of Madness, whatever the fuck it is.
The Marvel Extended Universe.
Are you talking about Multiverse of Madness?
That's the one.
Yes, Multiverse of Madness. That's the new Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah. But since we know that is connected, does that not make it even more complicated?
Not really.
With Ugly Sonic.
I don't know about that. Ugly Sonic could have stayed. Ugly Sonic is like a trans-dimensional being. He can exist wherever he wants.
Well, no, because how does that make sense? You were just arguing to be like, oh yeah, he can't exist between these two dimensions.
Sonic can, but the Sonic Force and the Morb Force cannot.
Right. I forgot that once you get morbed, it changes.
Yes,
your biochemistry changes how you react to
Sonic
multidimensional travel.
And Sonic realized that if he wanted to stay within the Sonic Force, he would have to leave, which meant being separated from the Morb Force, which means because of that, we aren't going to get to see the crossover of the lifetime, which is unfortunate. But then at that point, you see Milo kind of fucking around, and he's just destroying the town, and he's like, oh, hey, I'm British, and I'm causing problems on purpose. And then you have Morb being like, Morb, I gotta stop him, Morb. You gotta understand that. And so he runs out, then they fight, and it looks like, I don't use this lightly. You know when people say something looks like a PS2 game?
Yeah.
There's a scene where the both of them are fighting, and they're falling, and it looks like something from the PS2 era of games for like the pre-rendered cutscenes. It legitimately looks like an early 360 or PS3 game, or like a really late stage PS2 game. And it's honestly kind of charming. The visual effects make no goddamn sense, but they end up fighting. Morbius ends up eating his girlfriend, which is not in a good way either.
Yeah, and this is after the scene where he's like orange.
Yeah.
Now and now he's purple when he does this scene, because now he's a mega turbo gigabat. Like, okay, so you know how like there's a normal bat, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a baseball bat. He's like a double baseball bat, you know, and he's flying in the air, and there's purple streaks going beyond him, and the theme is going Morbius, Morbius.
Well, like,
and then suddenly he lands sexily because he's Jared Leto, and he's sexy and he's ripped.
But at this point, because he is like, purple, he has the ability to fly without having to flap his wings anymore. So he just kind of like,
he did flap his wings, didn't he? Oh my god.
So when he comes down, like you'd think that, oh, big superhero movie, comes down 3-point landing. No, Morbius just comes down like he's fucking Jesus. He just comes down like this, arms out, his legs like are together, and he just like comes down like it's a big deal.
No, Kai, you got it wrong. Like, he still does the 3-point landing, but he has 3 arms. So he has the 2 feet on the ground, and then he has the 3rd arm that also reaches towards the ground.
That was an arm?
Yes!
Nick.
Oh,
Nick,
God, okay.
Nick.
Yeah?
That wasn't an arm. Anyway, David Tennant, Matt Smith, Gotenks shows up.
Yeah.
and he's like, Morbius!
and then he says it in time with the backing track, so you hear like a double Morbius, and then Morbius.
Yeah, and then he goes, and then Dwight from The Office shows up, and he goes, Michael, and then Morbius powers up.
Then they both. This is the moment where Morbius has the callback to earlier when he says like I'm hungry. You don't like me when I'm hungry. This is where he says I'm gonna be Morbius. You won't like me when I'm Morbius.
Yeah, you'll like me when I'm Morbius. You'll like me when I'm Morbius. And he leans in, and then it like zooms in on his face, and he's like a Giga Ultra vampire, and then he uses the sticky spray Dio eyes, and Matt Smith jumps off of the building, and then they fight like DBZ characters, but with weird Spider-Man 2 effects.
Yeah, pretty much. You're basically looking at Spider-Man 2 for the PS2, and then what erupts is maybe the second best scene, not in Morbius, but in the entirety of cinema. I feel like at this point, the term Morbius should actually supersede the term cinema, but that is a discussion for another group of people, for a generation that I will no longer have to be a part of at this point. That talk will happen long after I'm dead. But Morbius is on his last leg, his last 3 legs. he is down, he's out, he is dying, he realizes he has failed and he will not be able to defeat Milo. So he lets out one last gasp, one final scream, and then to him, he calls an army of vampire bats, and he surrounds himself with them and then forms them around his fist in a special move that he calls the Morbius Gauntlet. And so he swings at Milo, who is wielding the Lance of Longinus, and punches him to the goddamn wall, pinning him there. All of the bats separate from the gauntlet and then start attacking Milo DOT style, which gives Michael Big Dick Morbius just enough time to inject a MacGuffin into Milo, in which Milo looks up to him being like, I'm just a little guy and it's my birthday. You wouldn't poison a little guy on his birthday, would you? And he just dies. And that, afterwards, Michael Morbius flies away, having to deal with all that he has gained and all that he has lost. He flies in the city and everyone is watching him majestically. It's so beautiful. And then you get a cut to the woman that he had to consume in order to survive, his girlfriend. And she opens her eyes and you find out that she is morbed. And Morbius finally looks into the camera, consumed and surrounded by all of the bats around him. And he says in one final cadence, it's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time. Yeah. That's what I knew.
One small fix though, Nick, because you got a name wrong. I didn't want to detract from that because you were on a roll. I just didn't want to detract from the fact that it wasn't called the Morbius Gauntlet. It was called the Morbius Strip.
Fuck, you're right. It was the Morbius Strip. How can I forget that?
Strip. Oh, wow.
They had
Kai,
to.
you're right. Yeah. We're fools. We're so me and Nick, we were just in the zone. We were in the morb zone. It was so crazy.
You're actually in the morb zone. You were on the verge of being morbed. And I had to bring you back. You know?
I'm so sorry. Sometimes I morb in and I can never quite morb out of it, you know? Like,
dude, it's hard. It's like wave dashing. You gotta do it slow first and then pick up your speed afterwards every time you do it.
Yeah, exactly. You know? And like, you morb something new every day, you know? But
the woman Morbius eats then decides to do a kip up like Shawn Michaels in WWE. And she goes, I'm back, baby! And she does it to 1-2 punch. And then the movie just stops. Like it just stops.
And
right?
then no, it isn't, because there's 3 whole post-credit scenes.
Yeah, but I think we should leave that for people that actually want to go watch the movie.
I don't know. I think there's a lot to dissect there. Like,
we can talk about the third one.
Yeah, we can probably talk about the third one. We could probably at the very least talk about that one.
The third one opens up with Steve Carell eating from a petri dish of the morb juice, and he just starts dipping like garlic bread in it and just like taking big old bites. Wait. Yeah.
I just realized something. This took place in Olive Garden, didn't it?
Yeah. That's why his server, Andrew Garfield, asked if he wanted more cheese on his chicken gnocchi soup.
Wait, are you bringing up the Olive Garden because you think this is connected to Sonic 2?
I think this is connected to Sonic.
This could be connected to Sonic 2. You're right.
We might see the Sonic and Morbius crossover.
That's why Ugly Sonic is in the movie. That's why Ugly Sonic is in the movie, dude.
Oh my god. I can't believe that's literally the bridge.
They traded Ugly Sonic. They probably traded Ugly Sonic for Tobey Maguire.
This is getting too deep. I don't think we're going to be able to go any further with the information.
So what you're saying is we're wait, are you saying Tobey Maguire is going to be voicing Shadow the Hedgehog?
That's what I was about to say. That is precisely what I was about to say.
Oh, that's huge.
Tobey Maguire might voice Shadow the Hedgehog. It all makes sense now.
Yeah.
That's why he wasn't in this movie. He's going to be in Sonic 3.
He's going to be in Sonic 3?
Because Andrew Garfield is in Morbius.
I can't believe that Morbius is going to have to fight Knuckles.
That's fine. He'll just morph Knuckles.
Yeah, I was going to say, you say that like he wouldn't absolutely fold Knuckles.
That is not true. Knuckles would win in a fight with Morbius.
I'm putting Knuckles' face on Ego. I'm putting Knuckles' face on Ego Raptors. I'm putting Knuckles' his face on Ego Raptors.
I was gonna say, Nick, I feel like this actually is an Aaron versus Harley situation where it's like it's just stacked. Morbius wins the matchup. I'm sorry.
But
know what beats?
Okay, hang on.
He's taller. He weighs more. He's had more experience in combat. Like literally.
Hey, the girl got morbed up. That means she's a bat. You know what? You know what beats Knuckles?
Ooh,
bats with titties.
Exactly. So no, yeah, Knuckles hard loses.
Are you trying to say that Rouge beat him in Sonic Adventure 2? No.
Every single time.
Lies.
Every single time.
Lies. Knuckles won. Unlike Morbs, he doesn't chuckle. He'd
the
rather
meme is
flex
oh
his
no.
Morbs.
The meme is oh no, not Rouge dying. I don't know what that sounds like.
Don't you remember the scene in Sonic Adventure 2 where Rouge falls to her death into the lava pit?
No. I forgot. You think I had the patience to do anything besides Chow Garden racing? Are you kidding me?
Oh my god. Look, Sonic Adventure 2 is a good ass video game.
And that's our review of Morbius. Don't watch it. It's the greatest movie of all time.
If I had to describe Morbius, or known in other countries as Morbius, Lord of Vampire, I would say that it is probably the greatest 4 out of 10 movie I have ever seen. And I don't think people are going to really be able to appreciate it for at least another 10 years.
Oh, I forgot to mention, because there is some extra content, you have to watch the movie with 3D glasses. And I don't mean like, the new 3D glasses. I mean the old like red and blue ones. You have to watch it with that. There's actually
you can get them with any blue. You can get them with any HD DVD copy of Spy Kids 3D.
Yes! I was going to say exactly Spy Kids 3D. If you watch Spy Kids 3D as a kid, you'll absolutely have those glasses still.
And if you actually wear the 3D glasses, they've done some really nice compositing where if you wear them, Shark Boy and Lava Girl show up.
Yeah, just for a bit. There's
for like a little bit.
Yeah, there's like a funny bit where like Taylor Lautner like sees himself as like, like when he was a kid versus now, and it's like, it's weird.
Okay, we're gonna cut here for a second.
No, don't cut. No. No one is going to ever be able to appreciate Kai telling probably. I took all of my strength to. I was leaning for my keyboard. I had to tell somebody that Kai said this. Anybody. If you watched Spy Kids 3D as a child, you definitely still own those 3D glasses. and then Nick just kept going like nothing happened.
Like, listen, I think what's really great is that we really did just have the game of yes and for, I want to say, well, how long was that?
I don't know.
20 minutes.
Yeah, we basically just played the yes and game for 20 minutes, and that was a fun time.
We made up a movie.
Yeah,
made up a whole film. We just made that up.
Okay, real quick.
You're telling me this is Doug Walker's like movie making method? Like we figured it out? That we literally could have just said they boldly flee.
Oh my god!
We could have straight up said every lyric of "Hole in the Wall" or whatever he called it.
You know what I'm mad about? We didn't make a
What?
single fucking Homestar Runner reference. You
Fuck.
didn't put- not a
we didn't-
single strong bad.
Not a single Homestuck reference. We made an entirely authentically Yick tier movie. Yeah, this is so. Nicole just sent me, because she's been sitting here the whole podcast. She just sent me Doug Walker's Morbius is killing me as an idea. We need to send it to this guy. We need a bum review of Morbius.
Oh my god! See, I don't know. I would never want to work with Doug Walker because he's actually a walking piece of shit.
No, I know, but like that just sounds like the cringiest funny video I've ever not wanted to see.
Oh my god!
Okay, I don't think we should cut any of what just happened. Not a fucking word.
Oh,
That was a
God.
wonderful film. What we made up.
I'm very
Anyway,
happy.
Kong
about
me.
it.
I'm just really happy, you guys. Like last thing, I'm just really happy that like the Spy Kids in 3D thing actually kept going.
That was phenomenal. We put it together. We executed it. It was over, and I just couldn't take it anymore.
It's just like real Morbius.
Yeah, Morbius was really, really mid film at best.
It really was. I was going to say that I definitely I think I enjoyed my time spending it with you guys watching the film more than the film itself. For
Oh
sure.
yeah, same.
I would have never watched that film on my own.
Watching that
and,
film
like,
by yourself sounds like misery.
I thought it was a DC film.
I would much rather watch Misery than watch that, honestly.
Before we started watching it, and you all educated me, I thought we were watching a DC film. I thought I was going to see a Robert Pattinson
Oh my
like,
god!
like cameo, and I really did. Like they literally. I honestly think so. There's a scene in the Batman movie where Robert Pattinson beefs it while pretending to do this like flying segment.
Yeah.
And I think that was a parody of the Morbius segment. Honestly, unironically, I think someone in DC knew about that happening in Morbius and was like, "Let's fuck with them." And they did this scene, which is the funniest scene ever. Robert Pattinson did it like a champ. It's one of my favorite fucking scenes in a movie. No one's ever gonna be able to recreate it for me. And I think it was like a Charlie Brown kick the football kind of for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If I see Robert Pattinson beef it again, I'll be the happiest person alive, you know. That was just that sequence is 100 times better than the entire movie Morbius. So no thank you to that. I will never watch it again. Thank you, Nick, for spending $20 US dollars for me to get a free link to Morbius from another one of my Discord servers 5 minutes after we finished. I am happy to have spent that time with you, and
Hey, we
I
got it
really
in
appreciate
4K.
the effort.
We got
Yes,
it
we
in
did.
4K.
Yeah. So
It was
anyway,
in 4K, and I still couldn't see half the movie because the color palette was fucking everywhere. And by everywhere, I mean they really liked to just have like really dark blacks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then just But how do I put this? If they were using a lot of like really dark shots that in any other movie would be like would convey like an emotion or like have you feel a certain way. In this, they were just like, we're just gonna have black stuff on screen because we think it looks cool, and it just didn't work in my mind.
if I was told that the only way that I could watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure again was to instead replace Phantom Blood with the movie Morbius, I would say that it's exactly the same story, and that's it. And that's it. And then I would punch the person who gave me that offer in the face and watch part 2 anyway.
I was gonna
So
say
now-
watching Morbius would be shorter than watching all 9 episodes of part 1.
That is
But,
true. But it is not worth it, and we can now move on to watching or talking about our watching of some of the better animes on our list. Now, unfortunately, due to our Morbius sweep, we've decided to take Jujutsu Kaisen and put it on the shelf there. So then we can watch some of the best episodes when we're not morbed up. And so Nick, you can please take it from here.
I was about to say I'm kind of morbed out at the moment, so I didn't want to have
I'm
to take that
extremely
extra
morbed
time.
out, man.
I'm super morbed out. I didn't want to have to watch that and Jujutsu Kaisen all in one go, but I did watch the new episode of Tomodachi Game. We will not be talking about that.
Yeah, I think I just didn't because I didn't think we were going to talk about it at all.
Well, we did. We talked about it.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
but
we talked about it a lot.
After I watched that, I watched the new episode of Kongming. But technically, we're going to be talking about 2 episodes of Kongming. So we're going to wind back the clock 7 days to this email that I have
all
open.
like within the same arc.
Yeah, it's all within the same arc. But we're going to roll back the time here a bit to this email that I have. Because for those that don't know, whenever I'm watching the shows for the show, I have a drafted email open and I make a list of everything about the show that stands out to me in terms of what happens in the episode. Because I'm a huge nerd like that. And so essentially, I email myself all of my notes about the show. And I'm looking at my notes right now. And so the way that this works is this is the episode where Eiko and the gang are going to get their big 100,000 likes on social media so that they can be part of the big music festival. And so Kongming sends Eiko to this music producer and he gives her 3 bags of magic, essentially. She opens up the first 2 and finds some money to buy 2 gigantic cups of pudding and a pass to do some street performing on. And she's like, what the fuck? Okay, whatever. And so she's walking around and walks into the guy's office. And his name is Steve, spelled Steave. And I love him. He's a piece of shit producer. Eiko's like, hey, yo, you're supposed to work with me on my song today. And this guy's like, I don't really feel like it. I'm not feeling it. I think we can do this later. And Eiko's like, please, I have less than a month. And then she gives him the pudding. And he's like, can I eat these? Both of them? And then Eiko's like, yeah, sure. So he throws bamboo shoots on them and just starts scarfing down these gigantic puddings the size of my head. And so he's like, okay, we're going to do music production. And Eiko starts singing. And the thing with Eiko is that when she's singing, she sounds great. Like, she's technically hitting all of the shit that she needs to be hitting, right? And there's something that gets brought up in her performance by the producer that actually sticks with me a lot as someone that does a lot of voice work. He tells her, wow, you sound really good. You don't sound like Eiko. You sound like you're copying someone. And he basically kicks her out of the studio and refuses to work with her until she gets her own sound. And coming from my perspective of, I work in voice work, I work in video, I work in a lot of places where you're usually working with some derivative works or you're working with an inspiration, you know, like I'll do like a Shaggy impression or like a Skeletor or like, you know, all of the, or like a Kermit the Frog, like all of the shit that you hear, like people do impressions of at like parties or whatever, like the gag impressions. But like,
you get that guy at the party who has the Peter Griffin impression, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, listen to me, everyone. I'm the funniest guy at the party. That's how he talks.
I'm the funniest
like,
guy at the
verbatim.
party.
It's always a Peter Griffin impression that is like, you know, not good at all, but like you're trying some of the really small inflections that Seth MacFarlane does.
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly the impression you hear every single time.
And like, it's one of those things where I think it's very easy to fall into that trap of just doing impressions, trying to do sound-alike stuff and not breaking out of doing something that sounds like yourself. Because it's much, much more reassuring to sound like someone that already has a following, to sound like someone who already knows what their sound is supposed to be like. And at this point, Aiko doesn't know what she sounds like. She knows what her idols sound like. She knows the way that she wants to think she sounds in terms of like sounding like all the stuff that she likes, but she doesn't know how Aiko is supposed to sound. So she's kind of lost. And so she's going out, she's doing her own shit. Fucking Kongming is just being a goddamn cryptid, being just like, hey, man, Aiko can do what she wants. Kabetaijin can do what he wants.
He really does think that this is all according to Keikaku, which is nuts to me.
I mean, to be fair, he is playing 6-dimensional chess.
Yeah, that is true.
But Aiko is just kind of walking around. All of a sudden, she's walking around town and she sees this girl who is sitting on a box, and she's beating the box with her hand to make rhythm, essentially, and she's singing, and she sounds incredible. And so Aiko's like, oh, yo, that girl is so cool. Oh my God. And then the cops show up and they're like, excuse me, ma'am, Mrs. Box, do you have a permit? And then she's like, oh, no, I don't have a permit. You're going to have to come down to the station with us. And then Aiko's like, hello, friend. I'm so sorry I'm late. I got our permit here so we can start performing and stuff. You don't have to worry, right? Nanami. Yeah, Nanami. Yeah, go on ahead, officer. It's fine. You all don't have to worry about it. And so she saves the girl whose name is Nanami. And they're like, okay, yeah, we can do some street performing and shit. We're both musicians. And so they're talking the shit for a little bit. And then the cops are like staring at them because fuck cops. And they're just like, well, shit, we got to do something or these cops are going to bust us. And so Aiko and Nanami start playing Photograph by Nickelback. And it's the most beautiful rendition of Photograph I've ever heard. Like, if you had told me that what I needed to make Nickelback sound good is just have 2 Japanese girls sing it, so I'm sold. Chad Kruger can be my idol at this point. But they do some singing, jokes aside. Like, they do a really nice performance, and Aiko starts kind of like warming up to this Nanami girl, and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, we should do some more performances and shit later. This shit's fucking rad. And then that's basically where the episode ends. And you end up getting the credits sequence, which, just like with Kabetaijin, they added in Nanami into the ED for both the song and the animation like an episode too soon.
Yeah. Although a little thing that I think you should mention, at the start of the episode, Kongming goes over, the plan of attack of how they're going to get the 100,000 likes on.
Yeah.
Something they mentioned is that there are 3 groups that like they're basically trying to rival against, but like the first 2 don't matter because their fan bases have stagnated. The only one that matters that we're fighting against is a group with 10,000 followers by the name Azalea, and all we know about them is that their main singer's name is Nanami Kuen. Or Kuen? Or Koen, I think it is.
Might be Koen. I think it's Koen.
Koen, yeah. But it's like, we know who that is. It's really obvious. But yeah. So that's going to be an interesting thing for them to develop.
And so that basically covers the episode of Kongming that we missed. And overall, I think like I really liked that episode, mostly because it speaks a whole lot to the theme I was kind of talking about earlier of if you want to be the trailblazer, if you want to be the someone that breaks new ground, you can't just be a follower and you can't just like look at the examples of the people that you idolize. You have to be like, and this isn't saying don't listen to people or don't take inspiration, because you have to do both of those things. This is more along the lines of don't be afraid to inject some of yourself into your work, into your performance, into whatever it is that you're working on to make it unique. Because those things that you look at, like maybe you have a little bit of like a guttural sound when you're singing sometimes. Maybe you sound a little nasally when you're giving a performance of some kind. Those edges, those rough parts, those aren't quite imperfections. Those are the parts of you that can make you sound unique. Yeah, you might not be able to sound like the person that you want to sound like in terms of like being able to give a particular kind of performance. Like, I'm not gonna sound like fucking Johnny Young Bosch, or I'm not gonna sound like Christopher Sabat or something. But at the very least, like, I can take examples of the kind of stuff that they've done, work it into the stuff that I want to do, and then inject a part of myself to make that kind of performance my own. And like, when I look at that episode of Kongming, that shit hit really fucking hard for me.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said any of those things about like trying to be your own self better than you could, honestly. That's why I didn't really cut in. You did a great job expressing like what I feel a lot of people need to strive for to be the best version of themselves they can be in any of their craft.
And it's hard. Like, it's hard to look at that parts that you bring yourself and like kind of just not cringe at them. Because occasionally I'll listen to my own recordings or something and I'll be like, I sound so nasally here. This sucks. And then I'm like, no, Nick, calm down. You can do it again. Or you can like go for a different kind of inflection if that's not the way you want it to sound. Or like just roll with it and see what happens. And like a lot of the time when I've just rolled with it, I've ended up with performances that sound so fucking nice, you know? And like, it's just a lot of it is just stop caring about the parts that you don't like and view them as like something that makes you unique. And that's even something that I hear with like other dub actors and shit is it's like I'll hear shit like Octopimp, for instance. Like I'll hear like Octopimp be talking about shit and I'm like, wow, he's a lot more nasally than like your average dub actor, right? But he's like sold that as part of himself. Like he uses that to make a sound that sounds fucking good and unique. And I'm like, damn, fuck, I need to stop looking at shit as like, oh, this is a hindrance, and be like, that's something I can say that makes me sound unique or sound cool or something. And I can fucking roll with that. So don't be afraid. If you got something that you don't like the way you sound or something that you don't like in terms of like your work, flip it on its head a bit. Maybe that's actually something that stands out and looks really unique, you know? Just food for thought on that end. Be kind to yourself. That's the big thing, I guess I should say in situations like that. Be kind to yourself and put your heart and soul into everything that you do. So anywho, the next episode of Kongming, the one that actually aired this week, I'm looking at my notes and literally the first thing I see is look at this photograph.
Yeah. It's the next episode was more of a continuation about the two subplots we were getting to know. So there was the plot of like getting to know Nanami and like having that relationship between her and Eiko.
Mhm.
We also got this story about Kabe kind of mustering his own courage to like speak to other people, and like there was this thing of him like standing up for this kid who was getting bullied to like buy things for his classmates. And like the first time Kabe does it, he walked up to the manga, he's like, like, hi, like, I don't think you should be yelling at him. There's police over there. And then they just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. We're leaving. Like they didn't even like treat him like he was there. And then the kid was getting bullied, like kind of bows Kabe and leaves. In this new episode, like that ends up with Kabe seeing this kid in that group again and walking up to them, and like the kids now being like, oh, okay, yeah, this Kabe guy again, okay, let's go. And the kid talks to Kabe, and it's funny. He says to him like, oh, when I see you like in person, you're a fucking coward. You're like wimpy and shit, but like you go on stage and you rap and you're amazing. Like that gives me courage. And of course, Kabe's sitting here like, you're insulting me.
No, okay. I want to stop you here for a sec because there's something I really wanted to bring up with this, and we've already skipped to this point, so I'm doing it now. So, correct me if I'm wrong here. Kabe Taijin is just Ego Raptor after he has absorbed the two androids.
That's incredibly specific.
Am I wrong?
Now? You mean now? Like, the guy's getting in fights for entertainment purposes on like what is an internet pay-per-view.
No, what I'm trying to say here is Kabe Taijin is just Egoraptor, but at full power. Egoraptor hasn't been full power in years.
He sang Into the End a couple of years. That was pretty crazy.
Nick saying Aaron's not at full power, knowing full well that he will not be invited to Creator Clash 2.
Wait, are you talking about me or Egoraptor?
You.
Yo, I will. If I got invited to Creator Class, I would say fuck no. I don't want to die.
Well, no, okay, but speaking of Creator Clash, I want to ask you guys this because, like, you know, they got to choose what songs they were able to like come out on stage to. If you were to go out on stage into a boxing match, what song would you want to play?
My wrestling theme, which is Ken Ashcorp's Hunter, which I have permission from Ken Ashcorp to use.
Hunter's a good song. Hunter's a good song.
Yeah. It is an Attack on Titan song.
It sure is.
Oh yeah.
For me, it would be Pegasus Fantasy from Saint Seiya.
Ooh, okay, that's.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be Pegasus Face Up, Face Down from
Yeah, no. I asked this
song.
question in my work server when we were watching it together, like me and all the other like Farfetch crew, and a lot of us were saying like songs from Yu-Gi-Oh! Music to Duel by.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, if I had to pick from that album, I would want Duel Madness to play when I walked out.
Oh god. But to get back on topic here real quick with Kabe Taijin. So like
I love Kabe Taijin.
I love
that
him.
guy.
He's actually
good guy.
still the best character, if you ask me, in terms of so this is something else that I've very much struggled with, and it's something that you mentioned, Kai, and it was taking people's words at face value and not just like listening to people and thinking, oh, that's backhanded, oh, they don't mean that, oh, that's just, it's garbage, they're saying this shit to make fun of me. Because used to be, that was me everywhere. I had been so jaded by the way people spoke with me in terms of everything that they said was backhanded or just like trying to be insulting or just in general, like you get bullied a lot. And so like you find it very, very difficult to take like someone being like, oh, you're so cool, or oh, this thing that you do is like awesome. And in the back of your mind, you're just like, yeah, I mean, I think it's cool, but I don't think you think it's cool. I think you're making fun of me. And like, that's something that is like really interesting to me in two different ways. One, Kabe Taijin is like listening to this, and he's not the kind of person that's able to really take what people say at face value. And little by little, you can see he's kind of opening up to it a bit more when people are talking to him, being like, dude, you're so cool, or like, you inspire me in some way. And like, that's something that I've actually kind of had to come to a realization with a little bit recently, when some people have come up to me and have been like, you actually kind of inspired me to do some like voice acting stuff, or your entire career, Kai, or like I've had a couple of other friends that have done that with me as well. And it is I think about it and like I end up lying on the floor in like you know when Napstablook is like lying on the floor and you just float into space?
Yeah, he's associating.
Yeah, that's what happens with me. And I don't know how to take it a lot of the time. So I know
that's how a drill works, dude. That's how a drill works.
Oh. And like that hits me really hard anytime I hear it. And so I can understand where Kabe as a character is like not able to fucking handle that. And then there's this other aspect. And this is the main reason why I compare him to fucking Egoraptor, other than his dopey haircut, is that I think that when you look at people, very, very unassuming people can be capable of very extraordinary things. And that's the big thing with Kabe, is he looks like a dork. He looks very unassuming. He looks like a normal dude. But then you see the stuff that he does on stage and you're like, this guy might not look the part, but like he brings a fucking fire and he brings a passion. And like, I think that kind of, again, just kind of goes to show that kind of correlating to the theme from the last episode of you have to be willing to kind of put yourself into what you do for your craft. But like, you also have to realize that, like, I think that anyone can really do that in a lot of ways. And you can't just judge somebody based just like on your like absolute first impression or like how they might look, because they could do something that is completely out of left field that turns out to be like the coolest fucking thing ever, you know? Like if I looked at like you, for instance, Kai, and you're like, oh hey, yeah, I'm like an animator, and I'd think to myself, oh, okay, so like what's he do? And like I wouldn't know exactly what to think at first. And then you show me some of the stuff that you've done, and I'm just like, what the fuck? And like you make like really fucking cool shit. So like it's one of those things where it's just, I think, kind of inspiring in terms of like, yeah, this person might just like look like your average everyday Joe Schmo, but like you can like see what they really want to aspire to be in their work. And like these last two episodes, in that regard in particular, have come off as wonderful to me in terms of thematics. And so then Kongming starts playing Ring Fit.
And then he does play Ring Fit with Steve, and it's really cute. It's just funny because like they're sitting there playing Ring Fit while Eiko is just off on her own with Nanami. And they're just talking and being like, oh yeah, so if you don't like this song, I'm gonna be your tactician. Haha.
Yeah, and they like get into the bath together, as in like Eiko and Nanami, not Kongming and Steve. Although I would pay for that.
Yeah, that would be a nice time.
And so like Nanami and Eiko are essentially dating right now. They're just hanging out. They're having a good time. They're taking a bath together. They belt out bangers in the bath, and then everyone comes in and they're like, what the fuck? You sound amazing. Because, you know, the acoustics in a bathhouse are insane. So Nanami's like, I'm going to get out. And then Eiko's like, okay, I'm going to chill in here for a bit. And so Eiko is in the bath too long, starts passing out. And then the only way I can describe it is she starts having a trip where you see Kongming of the mountain giving his wisdom, dancing. And then Eiko is trying to walk up the mountain being like, oh, Kongming of wisdom, what do I do? The peak is so high, I can't reach it no matter how hard I try. And so you cut to a scene of Eiko passed out on a bench, covered up by a towel. And then Nanami's like, are you okay? And then Eiko's like, I have transcended to a new worldly plane. Mere mortals cannot touch me. Can you teach me how to sing so that I can sing better? And then Nanami's like, yeah, sure, why not? And so you end up going to this sequence where it's a montage of Nanami and Eiko performing together. And Nanami is giving like a bunch of little tips for like, oh, you should raise an octave here. Oh, when you say that line, you should say it with a little bit more inflection, like giving small little bits of direction to kind of give Eiko's performances a little more weight, a little more texture. And by the end of it, you cut to the end of the musical number, and the only way I can describe it is the actor, I feel, kind of went out of her way to kind of like give this last performance that she gives of the song a very particular texture, because it sounds a lot more full bodied than the other performances they've given. Because for context, whenever they've gone out into the street, they've sang the same song every single time. So at this point, you've heard Eiko sing this song about like 5-6 times. And this last performance that she gives is so full bodied. It sounds so wonderful. And like with the mix, they make sure that like you hear Eiko's voice a little higher than like Nanami's this time. And then Nanami's like, yo, you're doing fucking great. And then Eiko's like, oh, I'm going to kick that producer's ass. Let's fucking go. And so she heads out. Then all of a sudden, Nanami gets a text message, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna make my eyes go dark because I don't want to talk about it. And then you have this truck that's been driving through like Shibuya with Azalea on it, which is that band that they're competing with. Drives by, and then as soon as the truck drives by, they cut, and Nanami is just gone from the scene. And then they cut to the ending, and I'm just like, damn, you didn't have to actually end it that way. That was a very fucking cool transition to end the episode with. And I'm over here just like, what the fuck? It's like, you know what's happening. Nanami is obviously the girl in the mask in Azalea, but at the same time, like, they're going all in with this presentation. And like, I want to just say again that this show hits in a way that a lot of idol shows fucking don't. They're talking about like the hardships and like the shit that you kind of have to realize when you're wanting to be like an artist or a performer. And like, this shit hits. The only other show that I know of that hits in the same way that doesn't feel fucking corporate is Zombieland Saga, which if either of you have not fucking seen Zombieland Saga, you need to. This shit's fucking good.
I've seen a couple. I've seen like an episode of it, and then like a couple scenes. I think it's kind of nice.
So
Yeah,
the
I
thing with Zombieland, oh sorry, go ahead, Kai.
Yeah, I was just going to say same thing for me. I think I've only seen a couple of clips of Zombieland Saga, but like I've liked everything that I've seen. I forget who plays him, but the guy who plays like their manager has so much goddamn fun with this character. Like his performance is great.
I mean, yeah, because fuck, what is that guy's name? Oh, Mamoru Miyano. Yeah, it's Mamoru Miyano.
That's the name of the guy?
Yeah, the fucking yeah, he voices Rintaro Okabe, he voices Riku in Kingdom Hearts.
Honestly, Okabe was all you needed to say, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I understand why it's a big deal. No, he has so much fun with that role.
Yeah, like Mamoru Miyano, like, it's funny. The manager is literally just him, to the point where I do believe there was a session where he showed up to record for the character dressed as the character. Like, they kind of just gave him free reign to do whatever the fuck he wanted with that character, and it's wonderful. But so Zombieland Saga is a setup. You watch like the first 3 episodes and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's an idol show, but they're zombies. Ho 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 ho. Wait, what is this about self-worth and fighting depression and accepting yourself? And hang on. And like, oh my god, that show is absolutely wonderful. And it also has, I think, like, probably some of the best like trans representation I have ever seen in an anime. It's so good. Like, I cannot talk up Zombieland Saga enough. I need to watch the second season, but like, just the first season of Zombieland was like some peak bullshit in the best way possible. That shit was good. And this gives me a lot of like same vibes, essentially. So like, I'm definitely excited to see more of what Kongming has to offer, if it's going to still be kind of spouting like the same, like, this is what it's like to be a creator, this is what it's like to be a performer, this is what you have to do to really, like, not quite make it in like the industry, I feel, because the industry is just luck and knowing people, but it's being able to make a piece that you yourself as a creator are satisfied and happy with.
Now it's Kongming. The show about the wacky war guy. Wacky war guy help girl.
Wacky war guy, help girl. Look at this photograph. It's time to talk about Spy Family.
Oh boy, Spy Family. God, do I love Spy Family. And I know I say that every week, but God, do I love a Spy Family.
Well, I mean, we have to talk about 2 whole Spy Families this time around.
Yeah, so the episode we are starting with is episode 6, is it? Of Spy Family?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is where we get introduced to Anya's school and, you know, the people that we're going to be dealing with within this academy.
So I love how when this episode opens up immediately, it's Loid just getting lambasted, having to spend more money for like uniforms and school supplies and everything. He's just like, God damn it, I can't keep spending this money. Why is school so expensive? And then Anya's looking up and being like, oh, hey, Dad, don't I look so cute in my uniform? And then you get this little bit of like, I like the way that they're giving this. Because you have the tailor that's working on her uniform, and while she's taking Anya's measurements and putting her in the uniform and everything, she's like, oh yeah, you all better be careful, you know? Because there are a lot of people that tend to kidnap the kids at Eden College when they're going out to like commute. And there's a lot of bullying at Eden College if you're like, you know, a commoner going to that school. So they're setting up from frame one. By the way, this is also the same person that has been arrested for various like political protests that is giving them this information and is basically just going outright being like, yeah, there's some real class warfare shit going on here. The poor are pissed off at the rich, and the rich want to stomp the poor underneath their heel. Frame one. Just the episode's been going on for like 3 minutes, and they're just like heavy class warfare shit. And then Anya's hearing all of this and is just like, bruh, I don't want to go to school anymore. And then Loid's like, you got to suck it up, kid.
Yeah, that is that. He's like, yeah, this is where we're going to school, Anya. This is, and then he's like, for the mission, Operation Strix, I have to do the mission. I gotta, like, Colonel, I gotta complete the mission. I'm Loid Forger, huh? Like, and Anya's just like, world peace. I'm the world peace robot. I gotta go to school.
I gotta go to school for world peace. And so then Loid gets called into the office, which for him to go into the office, he has to put a coin inside of a photo booth. And this is where they're going super ham with like the super spy aesthetic from like the old Cold War movies, where he puts in a coin and then slowly descends from the photo booth into the cool super spy headquarters. And then he starts talking with his informant, and his handler is just like, why the fuck did you just spend like $8,000? He's like, by the way, here's like another 1,000. And she's like, you really would have the gall to hand me more checks, wouldn't you? And he's like, look, it's for the mission. Just write it off. You're the government. You're allowed to write off your shit. You're the person that handles the write-offs. You own the IRS. Don't bitch at me. And so Loid's explaining everything. And then he's like, okay, so our mission now is Anya has to get like 8 merits in order to become an Imperial Scholar, so she can look like a big cool girl with a really cool looking cape, and essentially gets access to like exclusive events that only the Imperial Scholars get access to. You're essentially like the top brass at the school, and Anya has to be super smart. And then by extension, we also learn about Tinnitus bolts, or Tronitus bolts? The bolts.
They're tonitrus bolts.
Tonitrus bolts? Okay.
Tonitrus bolts. They're if you get 8 of them, you will be immediately expelled from the school.
In which case, after Loid learns about this, he spouts what is my favorite line in the entire episode, which is, hello, anxiety, my old friend. And the face that he has is just, he's smiling. His eyes are kind of glazed over. And I'm just like, me, actually, mood. Big mood. So he's stressed out. And then we cut back to Anya and Yor. And this is honestly like a really nice scene where it's just the two of them walking around town. Anya wanted to walk around in her uniform because she thinks it's really cute. And Yor takes her to the park. And then Anya's running around the park being like, look at my uniform. Look at my uniform. Look at my uniform. Aren't I cute? And then Yor's kind of like looking at all of this. And she's just like, wow. I really am just living a normal life right now, you know? Like, I never thought this would be possible with the stuff that I've done in my line of work. And like, here I am. And to her, it doesn't really feel real. And there's like a tinge almost of her talking about it in that she doesn't feel she deserves it. And that's kind of me just sort of reading between the lines a bit, where it doesn't feel like something natural to her. And it's almost as if it's just not something that's happening. But she's thinking to herself and she's like, you know what? I'm going to try my best to make sure that Anya has like a good life, you know? And I honestly think that even though it's a very small scene when it's happening, I think that it tells a lot about Yor's feelings about all of this in terms of like why she kind of approaches everything the way that she does, and like why her as a character, I think, is actually very interesting in that regard, where she's trying her best, but there's a part of her that kind of still realizes that this is all still kind of a lie. It's not quite true, but she really wants it to be true. And then they go grocery shopping because yours like, Loid told us to go buy some food, order something for delivery, but I could make something, in which she buys up a bunch of meat and vegetables, and she's like, yeah, no, this is cool. I'm sure I can make something with this. And then Anya is like, hey mom, I'm gonna go hang out outside the Walmart parking lot, and immediately gets kidnapped, frame one, by a bunch of hooligans that are going to hold Anya for ransom. Because they're just like, yeah, this kid's from that rich Eden college. We're gonna get them to pay the fuck up. And then they realize that was a bad idea.
And here she is, Mother Dearest, ready to destroy all of mankind for the sake of this small child.
You don't come between this woman and her daughter, man. She cares about him.
So there's a point where Yor shows up in a transition that is fucking phenomenal, where there's a dude that's just talking, and you see this brown smear just smash into his head, and it cuts to this dude flying through the air with Yor having smacked the shit out of him with this brown paper bag with all of her groceries in it. And this dude folds. He hits the ground harder than a sack of goddamn bricks. And then Yor is like, look, you're going to let her the fuck go, or I don't know what I'm going to do to you all motherfuckers. And then the guys that have Anya kidnapped are just like, oh, well, not only will you be paying us to make sure that your daughter's okay, but now you're going to be paying for our medical bills. And so the dude picks up this pumpkin that Yor bought. He's just like, besides, you're just the housekeeper. What is it that you're going to do anyway? No parent around here would actually go shopping. You're too good for that kind of thing. And then Yor just smashes this pumpkin with her bare hands. This dude is shitting his pants in fear, in which Yor begins yelling with this, like, the most fierce fucking look. Once again, they're like hatching her face all over to just accentuate that dark side of the character. And she's like, I am that girl's mother. And if you want to even walk out of here, have any semblance of still staying alive, you will get the fuck out of here. And these motherfuckers start running. And then I look at that pumpkin and I'm like, damn, I wish that was me. I wish someone would just fucking smash my head the same way that your forger smashed that pumpkin.
Everybody wants to fuck your forger. That's the joke.
Not even that. I just want someone to smash my head like that. Don't actually do that. I'll feel terrible. I do not wish to have my head smashed in like a pumpkin. But like the moment I see that scene though, like on the reel, when I see your forger smashing the pumpkin, it reminds me of that Get Gianni skit of him talking to Spike Spiegel. With being like, man, I just want a woman that kills me. You know, some real watermelon in the thighs style carnage. I want to be your pee pee poo poo piss boy.
Oh my god.
I want it to be violent and awkward. Neither of us should be the same people by the time it's over. like that. Like that's what I thought of when I saw that pumpkin getting smashed in Spy Family, which I think leads to some problems I probably shouldn't be addressing right here. But after that's all said and done, Anya's, still a little spooked, and then Yor gives her a big hug. And you know what? Everything's going to be fine. Yor and Anya are still like kind of getting used to this whole situation, but you can tell that they're becoming a lot closer with one another. And it is, again, it's very touching. And then they make it to school. And immediately, Anya fumbles it really hard.
So so Loid has a plan B if Anya can't get into the Imperial Scholars, you know? Because he knows he I think he's learned by now that Anya isn't the sharpest tool in the shed. She's not like stupid. I think she really is just 4 years old. They're all 6, and she's just like 2 years literally younger than everybody.
Yeah, she's literally
Like,
4.
Yeah, like if she is 6, then like, you know, then that's the truth. But everyone lies in Spy Family. So the so like she's not great at this homework thing and the studying thing. So maybe the Imperial Scholars a little hard. However, the reason they needed to get into this year is because Donovan Desmond has a son named Damien Desmond, who's in the OP shortly. Damien is Donovan's second son, who isn't in the Imperial Scholars and is starting at Eden Academy this year. So if Loid can get Anya and Damien to be friends, or if Anya can get to be friends with Damien, then they win, because they can just go to Donovan Desmond's house.
Yeah, no bullshit necessary. So Loid over here is like, I really need Anya to make friends with this kid. And so Anya goes down because it's the opening ceremonies. And he's recognizing the kids of all of these big families. He's like, holy shit, this is an information all you can eat buffet. Anya, you got to be friends with all these kids. And then Anya's like, that's a lot of pressure, dude. Could you not? And immediately like snuffs this one girl that's sitting next to her called Betty. And then fucking Loid's like, what are you doing? You're fumbling it. And so he's thinking to himself right at the end, being like, come on, Anya, you got to do it. You got to do your best in school for my mission. And then Anya completely turns to him unprompted and is just like, okie dokie. And just holds up the line. And then the teacher, Henry Henderson, is just like, can you move? And then Anya's like, fuck. And so they start moving along. Cut back to a little bit before I had actually before this little entrance exam, this little entrance ceremony. And there's a little bit of context here that I need to make sure that I lay down. Because of the attempted kidnapping of Anya, Yor is like, you know what, Anya? You told me now that you want to learn how to defend yourself. Let's do that. I'm gonna make sure that you know how to fuck people up if they try to fuck with you. So she's essentially teaching Anya how to be Goku, and Loid is real stressed out about it, but he's like, it's gonna be fine. So
He still doesn't get that Yor is like the strongest human being in the universe yet.
Somehow,
Even after fighting her while she was fucking wine drunk in episode 5, still hasn't figured this out.
look,
Yeah.
Loid and Yor at this point. I used to say now. A few episodes back, I was like, yeah, Yor's not stupid. She's just naive. No, she's stupid. Like, I'm gonna just say it. They're
After
both
episode
stupid.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
We'll talk about that. Oh, baby.
Ugh.
But what ends up happening is you have Anya, and she's walking with all the kids. They're giving them the grand tour, and they're telling them about the way that the merits and the bolts work. And so Anya's getting real friendly with Becky, and Becky's like, man, I could baby this kid. She'd be a good friend of mine, I guess. And Anya's hearing everyone's thoughts and is just like, man, all these kids are shit. And so she meets up with Damien, and she's like, okay, there's Damien. I got to be friends with this kid. Runs up to him, is like, Damien, I want to be your friend. Let me go to your house. And then Damien's like, what? No, you're just a stupid shit kid. What are you? What does your dad do? And she's like, he's a feelings doctor. Well, you know, he's a feelings doctor. Oh, you're just a fucking commoner. Y'all are shit. Maybe we could hurt your feelings. So then your dad's going to have to be doctoring up your feelings. And then they shove her. And then Anya immediately, frame one, is like, I'm going to kill him. And then she gets a flashback from Yor that's just like, no, no. People should only ever use violence when they absolutely have to. A real mature young lady smiles and laughs it off. And so then we have Anya who begins laughing and she's like, it's okay. It didn't hurt at all. And then she gives the face.
The face.
The face.
This is the face.
The
It really
strongest
is.
face in all of anime history.
So
Anya
here's the funny
Forger.
thing, because like the way Anya uses this face is what I like to call and I don't know if you guys know it as this name as well, but like I noticed a lot in elementary school, but it's like the white people smile. Do you know what I mean? Where like they literally do like a no teeth smile. They go like this, and they go, and they do a little nod. That's the white person smile.
No. I don't think that's that is the white people smile that you're giving. That was not the white people smile that she gave. She gave
no,
the Joker smile.
Oh no, absolutely. Because like the way she like was told to do it, it's like just smile because then people will like you more that way. Like that's what you're told her, and that's initially what made her start doing that face.
Yes.
I think it was only a couple times where she started using it as like kind of a weapon to be smug.
See, I don't even think she was using it as a weapon to be smug. She was using it because she's like, okay, I gotta smile. Because at the end of that entire thing, she's just like, this isn't working.
Yeah.
But getting back to it. So she's smiling and she looks smug as fuck. And Damien's getting pissed. And he's just going up into Anya's face. And I want to say that what's hysterical about the smile, they drew this smile for like 6 or 7 different scenes. And like you see it from like literally every angle conceivable. It's so fucking funny. And so it gets to the point where Damien shoves Becky aside and is like, look here, you little shrimp. I'm going to make sure that I bully you every single day. You're not going to have a day of peace as long as I draw breath. And then Anya is like, just looks around real quick, makes sure that no one's watching. And she just decks this kid. Like straight up reverse Falcon punch levels of this kid died at 0%. Anya Forger
folded, man.
Anya Forger unleashes the Warlock punch on this kid, and he fucking dies. And like the way that they animated it is, I swear to God, it's so dynamic. I'm pretty sure there are parts of that were animated on like 2s and 1s. Like it's so smooth when she takes the motion and it's just bam, this perfect perspective shot. And he folds like a goddamn chair and starts crying his eyes out. And then Henderson shows up.
And she immediately has a lie prepared.
Yes.
Yeah.
She immediately has a lie prepared. She is a forger. This family is a family of liars. And Anya is a member of them.
Mm-hmm. What she does is she kind of cements her friendship with Becky, and it's just like, Damien stepped on Becky's shoe, and I got mad, so I punched him.
And then Henry Henderson is like, wait a minute, getting emotional, not for her own self, but for the well-being of one of her friends? Oh, simply elegant. And like he's going nuts, like inside, of course. And so all the parents are still there because it's their kids are just on tour. And they're at the little after party, and Loid and Yor are just there. And the teachers call them to the principal's office, and they're like, what do you mean it's day -7 and Anya's already in trouble? And Henry's like, yeah, she punched a kid. Says Loid. Who is the kid? It was Damien. Says Loid. And at this point, Anya already has 1 merit. Apparently, physical violence is 3, but because of the fact that it was Henry Henderson that was there, and Anya had a good reason, it was dropped to 1 bolt. So she only has 1 demerit. However, Anya's already on thin ice. She's already got a demerit and already has pissed off the son of her target. So Loid at this point is already just like, I've been preparing things for months upon months upon months. I've been working so hard to make sure that all of this falls into place and to make sure that everything goes according to plan, and everything has been ruined in the span of 20 minutes. And yeah, that's essentially how the episode ends. They take a group photo. Loid looks like he's about to jump off of a building. Good episode. Fantastic.
Yeah, great episode.
Great episode.
Yeah, everything went the way it should, you know? There'd be no tension if everything went right.
Yeah. I feel inclined to mention that when you look at that photo of all the families, you'll notice that in the top right corner there's like a single child and no parents behind them. That's Damien. As Damien's parents, both of them didn't show up.
Damien has a real hard home life, but we're probably going to learn about that here in the next like 6 episodes, I think.
Considering his father is supposed to be like this lead of like an imperialist nation, like.
Speaking of the lead of an imperialist nation, time for the next episode of Spy Family. And by that, I mean, actually, no, here's what I want to bring up. So there's one part from this episode that we watched. It's when they're going across the people on the school board. There's a dude with a very particular kind of mustache whose name I'm not going to say for various monetization reasons. But yeah, he's just a rando background character, and he looks a little too much like a certain someone from world history. And I'm over here just like, okay.
Yeah, that just happens sometimes.
Yeah, that just happens sometimes.
You gotta do it just to, have that little essence of like, oh, this is somewhat in like real history and or world, so it feels more real. Now you don't need to. But
all right, guys, we're Morbin. We gotta get through this. We gotta get through the end of this.
They gotta get through it fast before they finish Morbin.
Before we morb out.
So,
it's Red or Dead, remember.
Exactly.
Red or Dead, episode 7 of Spy Family. We're going to get through this before we morb out tonight. And let me tell you, if there's one thing that gets me morbin, it gets my morbs a morblin. It was when we see this episode and the first thing that you see is your forger walking out in her pajamas with a bed head and super sleepy. And I'm just like, I love this woman and would die for her. Like, fucking, if there's one thing that I love to death, it is the fact that your forger wears comfy clothes all the fucking time. Comfy clothes, your forger is quadruple S tier in terms of character design. And I will hear nothing else to the contrary.
I think people overdraw the Thorn Princess outfit, but other than that.
It's fine.
So Anya is sad. And Loid goes through, his whole monologue about the mission, and Anya is like, oh, please, I'm sorry, I'm a failure. And Yor is like, I'm a terrible mom, like she always is. We'll get to her I'm a terrible mom monologuing by the end of this run through.
Yeah.
So Loid is like, it's okay. It's out of our hands now. Let's just continue. If you could apologize to the boy, that'd be great. And he's like, apologizing to the boy will bring world peace in his head. And Anya's like, apologizing to the boy will bring world peace. That's my plan today. I'm going to apologize. I'm going to do what I can.
I am going to be world peace, Chan. That's my goal for the day.
And, they leave. Everything's cool. Yor is very happy that Loid is very understanding. And they get to the school, and Anya is alone, and then Becky gets out of her limousine, and Anya is nervous about whether or not she's friends with Becky yet, until Becky finally is the person who helps ease her fears. Because remember, Anya, if that wasn't readily apparent, is a psychic, so obviously she can read the minds of all of her classmates, right?
Yeah. And I remember here, this shit's traumatic, honestly, when I was actually fucking watching this scene for me, it definitely brought back a little trauma in terms of how much kids can fucking suck and hate each other for no goddamn reason. Anya's having to hear all of this, and I can tell you right now, if I were in that position, I would die, physically die. I would jump into a pit. You would never see me again. That's the last thing I fucking want. And then Becky just turns to her, and it's a small little detail that they have, where Becky starts talking to her, and you know how whenever Anya reads minds, she gets like little like effects around her head to kind of like tell you, oh hey, she's reading people's minds, right? Becky starts talking to her, and you get this small little sound cue, and the lines and effects just burst. And Anya's back to not listening to people and is just talking to Becky. And so Becky kind of just grounds her so that she's not just wandering through other people's minds and just like going nuts, essentially. And I think that that was like a nice little visual touch that they kind of added to that to kind of get across to the viewer. Yeah, Becky's kind of grounding her and making sure that like she doesn't go fucking insane from all of this shit. Meanwhile, you have Damien, who is just up there in like the top left of the classroom being just like, hate that Anya kid so much. She makes me feel weird and I don't get why. Fucking why is she here? This is dumb. And he's just like staring at Anya, thinking about her. Anya looks up and is just like, that kid's gonna fucking kill me. And then Damien's just like, whatever. So class goes on, and throughout the day, Anya's trying to get up to Damien to apologize. And then Becky's like, don't talk to those losers. We got shit to do. And then Anya's like, but world peace though. And all the while she's doing this shit, you have Loid Forger, who is disguised as the janitor, as a butler, as a waiter, everywhere. And he is trying his goddamn hardest to separate Anya from Becky so that Anya can apologize to Damien. And there's one point that I think absolutely destroys me. It is when he is on the ceiling and Anya is outside for class. Anya looks down and sees a mirror message that basically just says, good fortune for children. You should apologize for the things that you've done. And then Anya's like, is this a message from God?
Her dad is gaslighting her so hard.
He is gaslighting
like to the
her
point where he like edits her textbook, fucking starts writing, you know, messages like on the actual school property, puts a note on somebody's fucking back and just says sorry on it.
No, yeah, and he's like preparing all of her food to where he made omurice for her, and it just says sorry, 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 sorry. There's like parts of the foliage that have sorry written into them, which a funny thing here is I actually like the fact that it's all in English because they're wanting to make sure that like it's period and like location accurate. So everything is written in English. And Loid is trying his damnedest. Becky is still meddling. And Loid is like, I'm going to fucking kill this kid. So he goes onto the intercom and he's like, yes, Becky, can you come to the teacher's office? But I'm eating. And he's like, now. Like, you know, he could not have heard her, but you know, he was pissed. So Becky leaves. And then Anya's like, okay, this is my chance. I can go talk to Damien. She goes to Damien's table, facing away from him at first, but the table's too tall, so she has to run around to the other side because otherwise you can't see her face. And she's like, Damien, I'd like to talk to you, please. Could we talk for a second? And so she's like trying to muster up the courage to talk to him and apologize. And then you have Damien's Crab and Ghoul. I don't actually know what their names are. I just call them Crab and Ghoul.
I don't think we've gotten their names yet.
Yeah, I don't think they actually have names.
They do have names. But they will get them eventually. But let's just say Crab and Ghoul right now. So yeah. Crab and Ghoul, the reason that they were problematic wasn't because they were standing there cheering on Damien. The reason they were problematic is because they simped for Damien so hard, they had already fantasized of the horrible things that he's going to say to piss off the girl, that their He-Man Woman Haters Club, like, mentality made them think of all the insults that would, like, stir Anya and hurt her feelings. So she's taking these insults head on because she can read their minds.
And so she's having to like get everything of like Ugo, Gorilla Woman, Horn Girl, Tanuki Girl, and like she takes all of this at once, and it leads to this cute little animation of her just kind of spinning and turning into a Tanuki, which I'll say right now, Tanuki Anya is fucking incredible, and I want more fan art of that because that is so cute.
Tanukanya.
Tanukanya. Oh fuck. But it's like all of this gets to her, and it gets to the point where she is bawling her eyes out. And it's animated really well, by the way. Like, just anytime Anya has a goddamn emotional breakdown, they're just like, get Jimmy out of accounting. We need everyone possible drawing these fucking frames. Everyone on deck draws the crying frames for Anya. We gotta make sure that when she's depressed, everyone knows. And so
then Ippo is drawing these frames. They've got everybody. They've got George Morikawa coming in. He's drawing. Everyone's drawing. You got to be able to live and die for One Piece. You got to be able to live and die for Tanuki Anya.
Exactly. So she's crying her eyes out, and she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't hit you. Like, you know, stuff like that. Like, she's really fucking sad. She's really fucked up. Because not only is she like feeling actual remorse for what she did, she wants to please her dad, and she's also taking all of this abuse just head on. And so
And Lloyd's watching all of this happen live. He's like, okay, well, Anya did a great job. I'm very happy for her. And then all of a sudden, Damien just snaps. He's just like, I can't take it anymore.
He's like, I'll never accept your apology. Like, never. And he runs away. And his goons follow him. And then, of course, you know, Lloyd's freaking out because, like, Plan B is dead in the water. Fuck!
But
I'm screwed.
But what we don't see, and for some reason, I don't know if Anya just wasn't reading his mind or, like, just could not understand his thoughts. But, like, fucking Damien has this, like, hormonal awakening. There's this rose that just erupts. And this is maybe the funniest joke in the entire episode, where he's like, I don't understand. Why does this girl make my heart feel so weird? Because you could tell he's down bad for Anya. Like, he's got a huge crush on this girl. And like, he's like looking back to every scene that Anya had been looking at him. And instead of her having like these tiny little like beady awkward gremlin eyes that she normally has, she looks like
she's got these kawaii anime.
She looks like a Clamp character.
Yes, she looks like a Clamp character.
In the amount of like, you know, detail they're putting into like her eyes and the blush on her face and stuff. It's like, man, they're really trying to milk it.
Yeah, and then Damien is bright red, not from anger, but from just sheer embarrassment that he is in love with a girl at the age of 6. So he's just like, nope, I'm out of here. I'll never forgive you. No girls
He's also
allowed.
only seen her twice.
And also
like 2 days.
classism. Don't forget the classism. She's a commoner.
Oh, it's true. Classism.
There's the classism. That's the big one.
Yeah.
I think you guys are really undernoting the fact that he was like, she's a commoner. Why do I feel like this? For a commoner. Like, that's a big part of it.
That is a big part of
really
it. I'm covering so much shit that like that just like slipped under the rug here for a second for me.
I mean,
can't forget, we're in the conservative country. Yeah, it's the conservative country where the rich are the rich and the poor suck, and it's like, oh wow, that's not good. You know, that's supposed to be like a thing that Damien is supposed to struggle with during a lot of these arcs in the future. I feel it's like something that they're really bringing. It's like it's like I'm the Prince of all Saiyans. You know what I mean? Like, why is this the way that things are? He's a common trash. Like, so
I'm assuming that it's like he acts home. Like Vegeta in that sense, but it's like, yeah, you're Prince of all Saiyans, but you're the second Prince of all Saiyans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, your parents don't care about you as much, but like you have standards you need to meet to please them, even though nothing you ever do will please them.
Yeah. No, exactly that. And I hate the fact that you've made the comparison that Damien is Vegeta, because that means that by default Anya is Goku.
In this situation, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, they have fought And Anya has won.
That makes Anya Vegeta because Vegeta won the first one.
But he didn't though.
Well, you mean the 3v1 or the 4v1?
Yeah,
The
Goku
4v1?
won.
Goku did not win.
Goku
Gohan
won. Goku won.
Goku.
Yeah, he was crawling away with broken ribs and shit. You wanna know who else was that almost got stabbed by Krillin? Fucking Vegeta. And guess what? Vegeta only got to live because Goku stepped in and was like, hey, yo, let that Vegeta guy go. He's real strong. And then Krillin's like, Goku, what are you talking about? I need to kill this guy.
Does that make what's her name? Betty Krillin in this
Yes.
scenario?
Yes. Betty is
That's
Krillin.
true. That's true.
Oh my god.
Oh, fuck.
That makes both of Damien Simps Nappa.
It's Nappa and Raditz. Or
That's
Nappa
true.
and a Cyberman.
Yes, that is also true. Those are equivalent things.
Oh my god. But
And that's it for Spy Family. Honestly, well, okay. So there was a sequence at the end.
I was about to
so-
say you're skipping out on an entire
Yeah.
section.
So
dude.
there was a very, very important sequence at the end. That like it just seems like a footnote just because it's the end of the episode and it wasn't the central focal point of the plot. But so Loid is like I've given up on Plan B. I gotta go back to Plan A. It's time to study. So he starts studying with Anya, and Anya's burnt out from the day, and Loid is kind of like pressuring her to work harder on her studies because now that's part of the mission. And she doesn't really have her cheat code of being able to read minds with Loid because Lloyd's always thinking about like the description of the mission. He's not thinking about the actions that he's doing out loud. And Yor isn't that smart.
He's kind of stupid, actually.
Yeah.
So it's like before I was always like, yeah, yours just naive, but I don't think she's actually dumb. And then she's like, okay, Anya, I can help you with this math. And so she's like, okay, so 1/5. So I just have to imagine a body, and then I remove the limbs. Oh, but then the head gets in the way, so you got to remove that too. And then 5. You know, doesn't 5 kind of look like an S? And then Anya's like, ugh. And so she breaks the fuck down and is just like, I don't want to study. I hate studying. And just slams the door. And then Lloyd's like, we got to get her out here. So she starts studying. And then Yor's like, Loid, you need to chill. Does Anya really want to be an Imperial Scholar? Does Anya want to do all of this studying? Have you thought for a second what she wants to do? And then Loid is like, you're right. Maybe we shouldn't rush this. And it's one of those things where Yor is kind of just being like, she wants Anya to enjoy her time at school and not work so hard that she's burnt the fuck out. And so they kind of come to that agreement, and Lloyd's like, okay, I guess we're going to chill here for a bit. Let's work this out.
This is also like I think I can safely say this is like probably one of the last times that we go through that same loop that Yor is kind of stuck in, where she gives some very clairvoyant and helpful advice for Loid on how to be a good father and be a good parent, even though because she's been a parent to her little brother at some point. And then she goes, oh, I'm sorry, like I shouldn't be intruding on your family like ideals. And Lloyd's like, and then Loid reaffirms her and says that it's okay for her to give her opinion because she is part of this family now, and without her opinion, they can't like prove themselves as like a proper like a family dynamic, and that's cool because that sets up like both of them to look really good without using like any of their like anything besides just their moral values. Like these two people have extremely similar moral values, and that's why they're able to give each other such cohesive advice in times of stress, even though they don't understand why the other one is stressed about a certain thing, because Yor doesn't know about Operation Strix, and that means a lot for the character growth overall. Even though nothing, I don't want to say nothing happened the last couple episodes,
because Anya has been put one step closer into the hole of like ending the plan. Because but it really does set up like this is the weight of the struggles this family has to go through. So then a problem like this never happens again.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, and this is a part from the episode that if I'm always, because I always usually talk about thematics and stuff, and I always feel like every episode, if it's planned well, usually kind of has a bit of a theme behind it a lot of the time. And this is what hits me a lot, is you get to Anya, and Anya's thinking about everything that she's done so far, and all of the shit that she and Loid and Yor had to do to get into this school. And she's like, oh, I've already done all of this work, you know? Like, everything should be fine now, right? And she's kind of realizing that all of that work was just the start. And, like, she's kind of thrown into what is now kind of a Shark Tank, where she's being surrounded by all of these amazing people, and she has to keep up. And to do that is so difficult. And the work, like, you always think that you're done with the work, but the work never ends. And then she starts thinking to herself, this is so hard, but I want to make sure that, like, I can, you know, be what my dad wants me to be. I want to make him proud. I want to make my mom proud. I want to do all of this stuff and make myself proud even for a lot of this. Like, I know Anya herself wants to do well at school because she feels bad about not being able to do well in school, and she wants to have a happy family because that's all she's ever wanted. So in order to really show her dad that she cares, she starts studying. And Loid comes in, knocks on her door, and is like, hey, Anya, your spy anime, Spy Wars is starting. You want to get out here? You can watch it, and we can do some studying after. And he opens the door. Anya is passed out at her desk holding a pencil. And this is where we transition to my favorite character in Spy Family, which is Soft Boy Loid, where he picks up Anya. He's like, oh, it's okay. You know, we're going to get you to bed. Everything's going to be fine. And then he places her into bed. And then Anya's like, Mom, don't kill Dad. And then Lloyd's like, what the hell is she talking about?
Yeah, true.
And so they send her to bed. And then you get credits. Everything's good. And then we get our MCU post-credit scene, which made Lana effectively gag.
Okay. We're gonna get. Let's. Can we just end the episode? Are we done?
Well, I
Can we
mean,
go home.
yeah, we can end the episode, but also I feel like you really need to talk a little bit about
Talk.
You know what? There's the bit of that thing with Loid right as he's like seeing Anya like studying in that. He has this realization that like, oh, this entire time I've just been thinking about the mission. I should be acting like a dad. Oops.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Like he's really just sit there and be like, the entire time this has been going on, I've just been exhausted. I haven't been like treating her like a real dad, and I need to be doing that. That's part of my job as this mission now. Like, I need to be more attentive, and this is a turning point for him because it means that he's going to be putting in more effort to be a father to Anya, and like, you know, being a husband to Yor. So I think this is going to be the moment where, like, you know, they start like meshing together even more as like a family and characters. And then eventually, you know, once they're able to meet the Desmonds, I assume one of them, if not all of them, are going to be like, we don't want this dynamic to end. I still think that's the like what the conflict is going to be like later down the road.
See, that I actually don't know because I haven't gotten that far in the manga yet.
I'm caught up with the manga, and it just took them fucking 6 weeks to release 3 parts of 1 chapter, and that was wild. That was like, so the chapter would just stop because it wasn't fully out yet. So like you'd have to wait for the rest of the chapter, and that was that. Oh, I don't know what was going on in Japan to make that happen, but please don't. I hope it doesn't happen again.
Was that not the week of the really bad earthquake?
I hope it was. Not for the what like, not because I hope that people got hurt. It's more because I hope that's the reason that like
the chapter was like delayed, because if there was anything even slightly better than that, I would be blown away by how awful it is. It's brutal when a chapter stops like that. Just delay it. Just delay. If you don't have if the chapter isn't done, nobody is going to be offended if you delay the chapter and just release that jump at like a pro rate. You know, like it's mind blowing that they haven't figured this out yet, like how to do this optimally, especially considering everything's going so digital. Like, because it just seems like a tease. The way that Spy Family chapters are written, which for anime watchers, the way that these episodes are written, don't they feel like they've reached like a resolute, even though there's a cliffhanger to bring you into the next chapter? Yeah, it feels a little hokey in a Ruby kind of way, but like it doesn't have to feel that way if you really want like things to close. These post-credits scenes have almost been a detriment to the viewing of Spy Family. Even though like there's taking like the conclusion of certain chapters, there's some of them that feel like they're encroaching on just starting the next chapter over, and I don't think that's great for Spy Family. Like this last one, the post-credit scene includes Lloyd's, or not Lloyd's, Yor's brother, Yuri Breyer. If we remember Yor's last name, original last name or maiden name, Yuri Breyer is my least favorite character in Spy Family. As somebody who's caught up with the manga, I hate this guy. But I'm not going to say why. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm just going to say I don't like this guy. We could talk about it next episode.
So yeah, real quick, this post-credit scene, they're just like, oh, hey, yeah, you heard your sister got married, right? And then Yuri drops his bag and he's like, what? Because Yor, in her infinite wisdom, hadn't told him anything. Which, to be fair, it's also on Loid's part, because I'm pretty sure Loid himself was just like, look, let's not worry too much about this right now. I'll take the heat. I remember Loid saying, I'm gonna take the heat. You don't gotta worry about it. But in general, I'm just gonna say, on my opinion, I fucking love Yuri, but for reasons that I'll go into next week, I think that Yuri's fucking fantastic, but I'll go into my reasonings next week. I will just say that he is very good at his job.
He is very good at his job. I will agree. He's great at his job, even.
Fantastic at his job. He is quite.
I hate that
meet
guy.
This guy. Can't wait.
I was really excited to meet Yuri Breyer. I am not now. I wish I never met him. Wish I could erase that from my being.
I'm curious to see what it is about him that makes you hate him so vehemently.
Knowing you,
know,
Kai,
and I'm excited to
you're
share
gonna
it.
hate him too.
I'm excited and I'm excited to share it with you. I hope that everybody who watches the Weeb Roundup watches the next episode of Spy Family. I hope that I get to enjoy that episode of Spy Family with you guys as well.
So if everything goes to plan, then the next episode 9, is just going to be the episode filled with hate. Even though there's no Tomodachi Game, if we watch, because there's a movie we're thinking of watching next week, and I believe that Nick and Lana are not going to like the movie.
I'm ready to watch it. I'm excited. I will be watching the next episode of Tomodachi Game.
I will also be watching the next episode of Tomodachi Game.
You know what? Maybe I only have one episode to catch up on. I'll catch up with you guys.
All right, then, and we'll talk about it for exactly 30 seconds. We're gonna time it. 30 seconds on the next episode. It's after those 30 seconds.
Wait, is this the Lana cut? Is this the Lana cut of Tomodachi Game?
Let's go.
Were you sum up the episode?
Do you guys want me to do the Lana cut of the Tomodachi Game episodes?
Yes.
Okay. They will be 60 seconds.
All right.
I will buy a vowel and take 30 more seconds.
All right, but with that, we should be closing out for the night. I want to say thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you, Kai and Lana, for being the generous co-hosts that I always need in my time of need. I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for you two, we would not be Morbin at this current moment in time.
I was gonna say this is definitely the most.
This is Morbin's so hard right now. This has been the Morbius episode ever.
It really has. I don't know what I'm gonna do after this episode, because like I'm morbed out, absolutely morbed out right now.
Can I just say,
I know
Kai,
I know what I'm doing.
Can I just say that Kai, when it comes to Morbin, well, we sure are the Morbius.
Woo! Everywhere you look, everywhere you are.
It's I'm
I'm out of here.
Fucking all I can imagine is Milo breaking down the door to the kitchen, seeing Morbius trying to jump out of the window and just screaming, Michael! But
All right, I'm gonna play some funky music. Get us out of here.
oh,
We're gonna get out.
But I want to say again, if you want to follow me, I am over at RedMufflerMan on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. I recently hit 10K subs on YouTube as of the day of this recording. I'm feeling it, Mr. Krabs.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good man,
I'm very
good
happy
man.
for you.
And Kai, if you would.
You can find me at Kbul Art on Twitter. That's pretty much where I'm at. Lana?
Techno Tenor 487. We got art, and it's not mine. and you can and it's credited, all of it. You can find pictures of me dabbing. It'll be great.
There sure is a new picture of you dabbing.
Yeah, it's a new picture. Everyone, thank you for coming. I'm very happy to talk about spies and not Tomo Game. Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
Ooh.
Have a morbid night.
As usual, you should totally leave a comment, like, and subscribe if you want to see more from us. And yeah, have a good one, everybody. Have a good night.